I don't have a whole lot of faith that at this point, now that South Florida's made it to almost the break, that they can hang on and we'll see an interesting end, and we sure did.
Yeah, no, it was definitely an interesting game across the board. Yeah, it definitely sets up for an interesting matchup this week. Obviously, every week is a championship game for Miami. If you're going to be a championship kind of program, or contending program, you have to address things in such a way. And I believe that the team is focused and taking that workmanlike approach, especially because you have guys who've been here to get it from the mud. Like Ruben Bain could have went anywhere in America and came and was here on a 5-7 team. You know what I mean? He came after the 5-7 season, still signed, but like he was being recruited through that and everything. So they know what it's like to not really be successful, and hopefully they're focusing. The results first against number 25 Boise State, I picked USF in that game outright because I said I think that is a lifetime achievement award ranking for a player who is no longer there in Ashton Genty. And I think that his career and even his last year warranted that, but no. They're not that team because they don't got that guy. And that was born out to be true. I didn't think it was going to be 34-7. And then going into Gainesville, yeah, that was surprising, especially not because it was not App State and Michigan in 06 or 07. It wasn't Armonte Edwards just dotting them up and, pinball on the scoreboard. They beat them boys up. Like physically in the trenches, in a phone booth. Like, you remember the scene in, Creed 2, when he goes down to Mexico to learn how to box inside? You got to leave your foot in the tire. You got to stay here, right up face to face, and take these body blows and figure it out. Get stronger, but ain't no running away. That was that game. And Florida was there, and USF said, we gonna fight in this with our foot in this tire, in this phone booth, face to face, nose to nose, and we gonna beat y'all. And that was what really stood out to me more than anything. They play hard. They go faster. Like, if they are able to have success on offense, they will go fast. They will go turbo. Like, we know Galesh wants to do that. We saw that against him, last year and everything. This team, they play hard for that man. And that was the thing that stood out. So for me, that's the thing that you have to compete with, the level of enthusiasm that they will bring. They'll play through the echo of the whistle every single snap. And I know that it got a little lopsided last year because we had Cam Ward and the Avengers on offense. But, I mean, up until Miami hit that cover 2 shot route to Sam Brown right before the half, brother, Raymond James Stadium was rocking. It was a 2-point game or something. Like, it was up until like damn near halftime. Like, it was 28.5 minutes in that game that it was real close. And we were able to extend that out, So, yeah, this team, even from last year, has our focus. And they have earned that. And they are now ranked in the top 20. You beat number 25 at home. You go on the road to number 13 and do what you did. They deserve that and everything. But, yeah, we gotta focus. Falcon and TRX, Miami should be able to handle USF if you contain the quarterback, a thing that Corey Heatherman's defenses have done in the past, even if he was part of the defensive staff at Rutgers. But there, and also last year at Minnesota, they've done really well addressing running quarterbacks. So, and containing to an extent. That's a thing that I'm looking forward to. Miami has struggled with that across many staffs, many coaches for many regimes. I can think back to, 20-something years ago, struggling. So it's not exclusive to a single coach here that running quarterbacks have been an issue. So I'm hopeful that Heatherman is able to have the kind of success and the defenses this week as well. To Paulo's point on that same game, when was the last time Florida State Miami fans were as united as they were after the USF Florida game? another time that Florida lost last year, probably. I mean, look, I'm not necessarily buddy with and going to say, hey, Florida State fans, like, let's come together and, form up like Voltron, my favorite cartoon of all time, by the way. But if we are celebrating on our side and they're celebrating on their side, then the triangulation then happens to happen that way. So, yeah. But, I mean, to the point, USF look, they have a dynamic quarterback in Byron Brown. They have a rising star in Alex Golesh in the coaching world. If he's able to continue this kind of success, and they play hard, especially on defense, which can create problems. So, yeah, we need to be sure that we're bringing a good performance to the field and doing what needs to be done. Hi, Gerald. Hi, Karen.
And Golish had enough confidence in his place kicker to try him from 58 yards. Now, he didn't make it, but they were talking about leading into that kick that he regularly in practice hits him from distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of my takeaways, I start to go somewhere with this game on Saturday, but they're all from the Florida perspective of this was disappointing. And when I say disappointing, I'm not talking about from a rooting standpoint. I'm talking about from a negative Florida standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the USF offense was functional. They moved it. Obviously, Brown had the ball in his hands most of the time. I think he threw 36 or 39 passes and carried it 17 or 18 times. So he's got the ball in his hands 55 times out of 70 plays or so. But other than hitting a 66-yard bomb for a touchdown, they weren't exactly tearing it up on offense. They were keeping the ball, but they weren't putting points on the board. And then Florida's defense, having a relatively successful game, punts the ball. Well, what was interesting to me was after the missed 58-yarder by fill in the blank Grammatica. Don't remember his first name because it's one of the Grammatica, like the Borgalises. He might be the last in line. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he misses the 58-yarder. And I'm wondering, how is Florida going to play this? Because their defense is playing well. There's about 2:45 on the clock. So there's too much time to just say, oh, we can just go into a shell. But there's time. You're at a huge advantage from a time perspective that if you can grind out a couple first downs, then the game's virtually going to be over. So how do you play that? Well, they tried to go to the air, and they basically took no time off the clock and had to punt, and they still had South Florida pretty much buried close to the 10-yard line. But then the Florida defense imploded, and guys went Jalen Carter on South Florida, and there we go.
It was all the talk in the press box. Everybody said if they have the shoe with Marco Wilson, and now the spit with I don't even know Buddy's name, but you're gonna have two legendary losses in 4 years because of like things that will be remembered through the annals of history. Like, oh my goodness. So
something like Benton Bet.
Something like that, I guess. But yeah, I was just looking as you were talking. Byron Brown had the ball, 36 passes, 17 rushes. They ran 65 plays, and he had the ball on 53 of them. Like, it's, he is he's not even the straw that stirs the drink. He's the drink for USF. So, yeah, I mean, but there are other guys. Like, they had that little slot receiver, number 38, last year and everything. They have some dudes who can make plays. And again, like all of these teams, especially like I'm going to be honest, the lower tier teams in the state of Florida, there are guys who were not recruited by the University of Miami on that roster. Whether they're from Tampa, whether they're from the Muck, whether they're from Palm Beach, Broward, Dade, Jacksonville, wherever, Orange County, Orlando, wherever, all over the state. I'm sure that there are plenty of them with chips on their shoulders saying, y'all didn't want me, so now I'm going to find a way to inflict this pain of this loss upon ye. So, yeah, we just really need to focus on that. A whole bunch of people watching. Please hit the like button while you are here, and I appreciate you stopping by. If it's your first time, welcome. My name is Cam. I manage StateOfU.com. His name's Mark. Well,
and the name of the Florida player in question is Brendan Bett, and he did apologize to the USF player. Now, we can question the sincerity of that apology, but who knows?
Yeah.